So yeah, obviously tonight I'll focus on obviously the whole sort of thing. So it'll be a bit of structure involved, imbalances, things like that. But what I want to, because I don't believe the market's a random,
Cool.
I want to maybe try and pick a chart at random, and we'll sort of break down every sort of zone that gets reacted out of and why we think it might happen, and we can start to puzzle together that it's while obviously they don't go in a straight line, more so because
Hmm.
it would be so easy if it was all in straight lines and everyone would be rich. Um, but with obviously liquidity, we can start to build up why the market would move in certain directions and things like that. So I'm hoping it's going to work out, and I'm not
Yeah.
going to. It's either going to be a
You know what? If
masterclass or
if
it's
the
going to
markets
be
were
a
random,
disaster. Yeah.
we'll wing it, mate. We'll be all right.
Yeah,
But Ali
yeah.
here can't possibly go wrong.
That's it, mate. Yeah, I'll ask him for advice.
Wasn't about that. Wouldn't ask
So
me anything at the moment.
no. Well, I mean, again, mate. I mean, I know you don't really use trend lines, but it might sort of like help a little bit. I'll pick a
I
chart
can't
at
fucking
random.
see him. That's the problem.
Yeah. Well, I'll start with this one, mate. So, I mean, sometimes they're hard to spot, sometimes they're not. So we've got three good
You're not. I
touches
think
here.
you don't
No,
use trend lines.
who me?
I think your trend lines, Lee, aren't what most people do with trend lines. Yeah,
No, no.
you're using them to find liquidity. I think a lot of people use them as a direction for price more.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes, I
yeah,
agree with Matt completely. 100%.
yeah, yeah. That might be where the confusion is with Sean, to be honest.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to talk about this the other week, weren't we?
Yeah, yeah. It was obviously for me. It's just once you've got three touches. Obviously, if it's level, it's two's fine. But at any angle, three touches, then people will on this one. Obviously, they would stick buy orders, thinking that it's going to buy up because it's a strong support or whatever. And then obviously it always eventually gets smashed through. So number one here gets smashed through. But obviously we can use trend like these trend lines or whatever you want, liquidity pools, whatever you want to call them. Um, so we can use them for because we know price will eventually sort of pass them. Obviously, if we could have got a sell from up here or something, if it was present, I'm sure it would have been somewhere just above that. But obviously, as soon as we spot this, it pulls away and then smashes through, and then this can become our point of interest because we don't get the initial break of the break to the upside that we are looking for, which would for me would have been above the high here. So obviously it comes very close, but doesn't. So price goes back and does its thing, comes back, and then eventually fills the highest imbalance and then breaks 1 minute to the downside. With this down here, obviously it's been trending up here. But yeah, I'll pick one at random. So I don't know what I'll pick. I'm just gonna smash through my charts list and see what comes up. UJ might be a good one. So we will obviously if there's any questions, guys, please do just jump in. I'm gonna leave the markings up just to make my life a little bit easier at times, but because obviously I'm gonna like obviously I'll be smashing through candles, so um we'll start a bit high actually, I think. Delete some markings. So I don't know where to start. There's that loads to go at. Right, we'll start at the top of this peak actually. Uh, I'll leave the stuff on just so I can give you an idea of what I'm sort of doing. So obviously there's a build-up of liquidity here. So there's one touch, two touch, three touch there. You can maybe class these as touches that are just off, but I didn't want to do that one. So eventually price comes and takes the liquidity. So it passes the liquidity line of liquidity pull. So triggering sell orders or stop losses. with that move. And then what we get after that is, so this is the final touch here. Price pulls away, and then it eventually comes and takes it. And then obviously from there, we actually take the low that puts in the high there. So under here, we get a break to the downside. So break to the downside there. So break structure, change of character, whatever you want to call it. Change of character. Same thing really. So once we've taken liquidity and shown signs of, obviously we want to start heading to the downside. So so from there, trend line go. So yeah, you can see it better on the 15. So final touch, retracement, and then eventually goes and takes liquidity. Then breaks the low that puts in the obviously the high. So high there, lows there, gets taken. So for me, as long as I was happy that this had tapped into something to the left that would hold or possibly hold, which if is it just outside of that box? Just outside. Yeah, just pips the box. But it holds anyway. So it pips just above this here, but this sort of zone is the cause of this trend line being taken as well. So obviously this is why I had the box marked initially. Breaks to the downside, and then so that's the final confirmation for me. It's filled some of that hyperwave to the left. It's taken liquidity. It's broken to the downside, and from there, I would hope that we've got targets to be able to actually aim for. So I'll find some targets that we would maybe think that we could aim for from that point there. I'm just going to get the. So yeah, if obviously
your change of character, Ellie, is not the 1 minute, is it? You're using a higher time frame to pick your change of character.
No, so it's I mean, so I think it's about the same on the 1 minute anyway, mate. I don't think it's too different. Yeah, it's about the same, mate.
No, you know what? It's the same, isn't it?
Yeah, it's sometimes it's the same,
sure.
sometimes it's completely different, but yeah, it's I think it's about the same,
Yeah.
mate. Probably under here to this one a little bit higher, possibly anyway, but obviously it does both. I would say if they're close, go the furthest one away just to be certain, because obviously if we draw a structure anyway, so we've got a low, high, low, taken, high is taken here. So from this high, we're looking for the lowest point before this high is taken. So that's the lowest there. If I draw a line across there, so obviously, so this obviously this is one of the rules for main rules for structure is from this high being created. Obviously, it takes this high here. That's the lowest point before it's then taken. And then obviously same again. So we'll look for the lowest point before this is then taken again in an uptrending market, obviously. So this gets taken here, and this is the lowest point between this high and it being taken. So this one here is why I've got that one marked. And so that would mean that this low is internal because it's between this and this up to this point here. So that's internal, mate. So it gets taken. It gets taken anyway. So it's not like it's not a trap as such.
That's what matters.
Yeah. So yeah, it's on this occasion. it don't matter. It didn't trap us into anything. It's not wrecked us or anything like that. So I'm not going to get too deep into the entries and stuff. Obviously, I've got some marked up here. I'm assuming it taps it. It's a previous markup, but we'll get further down. But from this point, obviously, we would be looking for possible targets. So straight away, I'm going to ignore these trend lines here for now because obviously at the minute price, these wouldn't be drawn because obviously I'm trying to do it as realistic as if we had in live-ish conditions. So we would say, can we find a trend line somewhere as a target around here? This might work out dreadfully, guys, but it's just my thought process that I would be if it was a live market. So should do it. That's not one. Possible equals. Not keen on equals though. It might be a bit of a slow night as well, guys, because I'm going to spend a lot of time marking stuff up. So can't see anything. Not there at the minute anyway. And then obviously, if I couldn't see liquidity, I'd be looking for the reverse, possibly the reverse trade, or a point of interest where liquidity. So obviously, I think in the previous weeks I've covered where continuation trades come from. So if there's a trend line up here, and we can see that like there's a point of interest here that I may have an interest in. So from there, I would maybe say, can I see a trend line down here? So we've got 3 touches here. Obviously, this is the imbalance that takes it, but we've possibly got an order block down here that causes the trend line to be taken. So this is possibly the cause of it. So this is possibly where the price ends up. Obviously, and I know I've got the markup and it looks like it goes a bit further, but this is just my thought process. So we've possibly got equal lows here that this would want to target. We've got this where it might, because this caused this, price might want to come back and effectively buy up from there, do a 1 minute change of character, something like that. It might want to do that. So that's that. So I'll just play this nice and slowly. Because what I'm going to try and do is if I can spot other trend lines as it's playing out, we will, because there'll be smaller trades in hopefully in this as well. So I'm going to go play from a smaller time frame. So obviously entry would be in here somewhere. I'm not going to try and get too deep into the entry side of things. Please stand by. So that would be entry hit. So now that obviously it's hit the zone that I had marked previously, I'd also be checking here for trend lines just as areas that it might want to target. So this one here, 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch. So straight away, obviously, if we ignored this box, this would now become a target for me to target. I would also be trying to make sure that there's nothing above as well. So obviously, I wouldn't want a trend line. I wouldn't want this high here to be part of a trend line. So obviously, I should have checked this before it entered, just to be double safe. I would always recommend that. And it looks like there's nothing nearby. I don't see anything that stands out. So happy for the sells at that point, obviously. I'll be already in. So yeah, this would be the target for maybe a TP. Obviously, I would still, even when it takes this, I would be looking for possibly the opposite. So I'd be obviously if it takes this, sweeps into something, taps into something, and then starts breaking to the upside. We could then look for the buy. We'll do. We might see multiple buys and sells appear. Just try to keep my eye on some if there's any more liquidities I've missed. Just wondering, so possibly one. No, I'm past it already. I just spotted this. So trend line, sweep, breaks above this high that puts in the low, then mitigates something low in here. So there's actually possibly a buy up to the sweep of that trend line that we have marked. So yeah, touch, 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 touch. Pulls back after the last touch, sweep, break above. This is why I said it might be a disaster, because I'm probably going to miss loads and have to go back. But touch, touch. I'll draw the arrow to the touches, so touch there, touch there. Touch there, so 3 touches. Obviously, comes eventually takes everyone's stop losses and then breaks as a reversal signal, so it breaks the high that puts in the low that takes it. And then, like I say, it comes and tags into something in here. I'm not going to go too deep into the, like I say, into the entries, but that looks like a possibly like 15-minute imbalance there. Sure, it'd be better on the 5 or the 1 or something. 5 looks clean. Imbalance there. This candle here comes along, tags it, and then goes and takes this big trend line that we first started with. So even if you don't refine it, you've got a possibility there of up to the trend line, just past it. 1 to 11 there, up to this trend line. I'll turn that one red. Just past that trend line, obviously we would expect it to sweep it. So I'll show you the trend line again. Touch, 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 get swept. So the buy was on up to it. Now obviously it's swept it and broke to downside. Obviously it's given a sell signal, which is what we are currently looking at. Just delete them. Is that a trend line also? So I'll let that play out nice and steady. So taking the trend line, it's absolutely obliterated through it. I don't think because this is the final touch, maybe I'd be looking for a break above here as a reversal signal. Again, be looking for more confirmations of sweep, taking that as well. Touch. Okay. So obviously here it's taken multiple trend lines, liquidity equal whatever. There's some more candles. Nothing stand out in a minute. Very much. So not officially in another. Zoom in a touch, see if I can see anything. So because of this one gets taken, possibly by this one created here, order block. Obviously, it's not gone back and taken it, so it's a possibility that this is now a point of interest. So we make the box small, like in the way that. So should obviously price come back to this, it's possibly an area where we would look for obviously price will come into it, start breaking to the downside, and then mitigate something back in it. So it would be a continuation setup there. It'd be nice if it created liquidity just above it, swept liquidity, and then broke. It is possible. More trend lines that it took as well. So that one there as well. So yeah, this area is causing multiple trend lines being taken. So obviously this is the final touch on this trend line. 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch, 4, 5 touches, pulls back, eventually takes it. So this is a very possible area that price might want to come and mitigate. There's some candles because we're still. Let's see anything else nearby that tickles my fancy. But we will just keep an eye on candles as they're printing. Obviously, is it any questions, guys? Please just ask. If it's boring, let me know. I'll stop. Another trend line there. Turn this one red.
Do you ever set your stop to move your stop to break even, Lee? or do you just let? Is that something, or is that something you don't like to do?
Uh, I mean, no. Yeah, generally no. But obviously, once I move into bigger profits or higher risk rewards, then I will do it occasionally. But I do like so. Obviously, this trade, obviously this one that we would technically possibly still be in because obviously this is printed out. The target was this trend line, and then it's not broken above this one that I think would have been the reversal. If it had taken this high here, I'd have been thinking reversal after it took the trend line. So I would think I would still be in this trade because I don't
Yeah,
see anything that's given me the confirmation to think to make me think it's reversing. So,
yeah,
but from obviously the entry here, we've had a couple of possible structure swings. So we've got something like this, maybe that. So we've got a downtrending structure. So
yeah. So you might follow the structure with your stop, maybe. Yeah,
yeah, so
we talked about this once. I don't remember now, actually. Thanks.
yeah, so what I would do is once this one's broken here, because obviously that's the low. Obviously this is the pullback because we're now downtrending. So as the entry, I would want it to pass this low here. Draw a
Yeah,
low line on it, turn it yellow, thicker. So once it passes that, I'd want it to pass by, pull back, and then I'd want it to clear that low again. So that low and that low. Once it passes this, I would consider moving it above this high.
yeah,
So yeah, effectively I'd want two lows to be taken. Obviously, it creates this one, pulls back, creates a new one. So once it passes this low, I'd maybe, like I say, I'd maybe consider above this high, purely because at that if it took that high, it would then be a possible buy signal anyway. So
yeah.
I don't like to break even, but like say if I was, I don't know what that would. It looks like it goes fucking mega by the looks of it.
It's pretty huge,
Yeah, I mean if I was, I mean that I see that say 100 and
and it's what 3 4 days as well.
yeah,
Yeah,
so that would be 30R once it breaks back past that again. So I'd maybe move
yeah,
somewhere. I'd give it room to possibly come back and mitigate something maybe, but it depends on the targets as well, mate. So obviously if I was seeing if I could obviously that trend line, I wouldn't bother moving before that was taken. Um, yeah, yeah. It's obviously I'd have to have targets in mind that I was comfortable that I thought it was going to reach. Structure would have to be playing in my
yeah.
favour. So there's no one confirmation, mate. It's just
Yeah, fair enough. That's cool. Yeah.
yeah, it's a multiple of all of them. But generally, no, because
Well,
I also think if you unless you back test for break even, you're throwing in a variable that I haven't took my data for, allocated in my
yeah,
data. So you're throwing in like a curveball that
yeah.
you haven't anticipated, and then
Because stop size is not fixed anyway.
no,
So moving to break even is a bit random based upon what the stop size is. So, yeah, I
yeah, yeah,
understand. It's a habit. It's kind of because I started doing simple strategy. It's a bit different
yeah,
what they do. I get all excited once it gets to 2 or 3 R and go, oh no, I can't lose this. I can't lose this.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I do get it, mate. I think I'm generally a bit better at it because what I'm obviously with me 4:15:1 system, I was trying to catch 1 minute entries or sub 1 minute entries as well, but based off 4 hour structures. So I mean, I was seeing that Moves was doing this sort of distance and possibly trying to catch the entry from here. So
Yeah,
it can. I was okay with it moving big distances because that was what all my data collection was telling me that obviously it didn't always work out. You didn't catch like hundreds and hundreds of pips, but overall the majority of them did go 100
Yeah.
plus pips. So, and there was always a chance of a re-entry or second mitigation of the entry zone or whatever. But obviously, part of the advice I say is anyway is generally obviously as long as you get the structure right. If you get the not obviously this one here is obviously it's the right move that I had marked out or whatever. But I picked the highest relevant imbalance in this whole move. So there's no real targets above it that I can see. There's no liquidity for me to think, oh, there's a huge trend line in here that might take everything. I don't. I mean, I say that this might be one, but
yeah, it's all right. It's all right. I get the.
there is actually one there.
I get what you're saying. That's all right.
Yeah, but like I say, as long as things line up,
Yeah,
So again, it's there's no single answer. But
yeah, that's fine.
I don't test for it. I don't think it's. I think if you throw that cave ball in, then you're possibly stopping. All you're doing with that, all you're doing, I think, is you are stopping the potential trade playing out to take profit. So
because then if you want it to be predictable, you've got to have a rule for when you put your stop to break even. So you do the same thing every time, so that it's replicable in your system. So I understand. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Since you haven't got a rule, you can't do it.
No. So yeah, it's. But like I say, it's if people do it, mate. I understand the emotion that comes with being in a trade and wanting to protect yourself, but I think, I mean, the advice I would give, even if for someone struggling with it, is just decide beforehand. So if you see your trade's about to enter and you've got nice targets that you want to aim for, like just literally tell yourself before you actually get into it, like, I'm not going to touch my phone for 2 hours or until it does this and then obviously you can get to if you're panicking as well, you could almost guarantee that you're over risking then, or you're not comfortable with the numbers, or there's something else that's bugging you. So yeah,
it's largely just self-doubt. That's only gonna the only thing that's gonna fix that is experience. So
yeah.
there's no other way to fix that.
Yeah, I mean, Leon says it brilliantly about obviously break-even traders. He says people are looking for a comfort, and I sort of understand when you go a bit in profit, like instinctively you do want to go, well, I don't want to lose that now. But for me, if I've picked an entry, I'm saying, obviously, this one here, I would say, I think it's going to touch there. I don't think it's going to go higher. And I think my take profit's going to be at least this trend line being taken that we marked up. So if, I mean, it touches the trend line here, taps the entry, about touches the trend line again, I think, pulls back a bit, takes it. So, I mean, this is a terrible example, really, but if this sort of pulled back harder after touching his trend line, if you'd have moved to profit in here and it had pulled back, it's still from this valid point of where I think it's going to reverse from. But comfort might have gained me a couple of percent or whatever here, but it could have easily lost me whatever it reaches down here. Do you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
cool.
There is 33 fold, and was it that one? No, it's this one here. Sorry, I'm just going to move that. This one here, isn't it? Yeah, much tighter entry. So yeah, once it takes that liquidity there, obviously it doesn't break to high side. Like if it had pulled back harder and gone to there, like it'd have been ninefold, which is obviously fantastic. But by being that bit more sure about where your thing's going to aim for, like 45 folds, a lot better. I don't even know the math on that. 6 times better than just by being that little bit more sure about your analysis. And if you're not sure about your analysis, that would also tell me you haven't done enough back testing and data collection. So yeah, comfort comes with doing that sort of side of everything. So yeah, that's my rant anyway. Don't break even.
I knew what I was going to do. I knew what was going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I say, it just tells me if you're uncomfortable, you're you're not in a place like I understand you maybe being uncomfortable with like if you was catching these and because you knew like it's to be expected.
Yeah,
But if you'd been in
yeah,
3 or 4 years and you'd laid this system and you'd been doing it for a good year and you was fairly experienced with it, then I'd be saying, well, you haven't done the back testing enough. You
yeah.
haven't, you know.
I'll well, if I get a couple of nice wins, I'll get over it. I know that,
Yeah, yeah,
so that's
yeah,
fine. It's just time on the charts, like you will say, isn't it? That's all it is, really,
yeah,
and
yeah. Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. So
experience.
yeah, I mean, eventually you'll get to a point where you'll, like I said, I'd just normally set alerts at the stop loss and sometimes at the TP,
Yeah,
So if that I'd have had a, if I'd have had an alert somewhere around here, I'd have checked it, or I'd have not set a TP but set an alert and just gone, right, I'll see what happens at this high, now. That's been, it's just you don't get to check it as much as you would. I mean, when you first get into it, you're checking your phone every 5 minutes, and
yeah,
that in itself is a bad thing to do unless you're really comfortable. Doesn't help you because you're always panicking, especially if you're going to see
yeah.
a
Seeing
couple of
things that
like
aren't there,
opposite
thinking too hard.
candles and things. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this one was obviously from the market that we've done. It's hit an entry, it's hit the TP and going beyond. Like you don't need to do anything else. That was the analysis. Um, I'll carry on anyway. Not happy with that trend line, so don't like that little wick above there. So obviously we've just taken this one. Don't think don't think I'd be looking for a buy from this, but we'll see. We'll see what plays out. I'll tell you what it's going to do now. It's because it's broken above this. I bet you it's going to buy up from somewhere out of here. Knew it. Sure on that. I don't think I was sorry. I was just looking if this was a trend line here because we could have had obviously a sweep break to the downside, but I don't think I would be trying to sell it before this zone here. Um, but obviously this one is very likely what happened. So obviously this trend line here, touch, 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 high that takes the low. So I think that this one was actually what it was doing. So get a change of character there. And it looks like it comes back and mitigates this little order block here that causes it. Well, you could argue that's taken there, so could argue that quick there is the entry, but like I said, I'm not going to try and get too much into the entries as such. So, but yeah, possibly there or there is an entry, something like that. But obviously, the idea is that trend lines created, taken, breaks above, and obviously the target. Should we have been looking to take that target would have been this up here, obviously, because this is a point of interest because it's taking liquidity also, and there is possibly a trend line here. I don't like it for a. I don't think I like it for a sell from there, but touch, touch, touch. We're only on the 5 here, so it's not not the best, but it might play out. We'll see. Possibly did then. White knew it would do me in. So, but again, trend line, low created, sweep, breaks the low. Change the character at that point. Like I say, I wouldn't personally, I don't think I'd have been happy about selling from below this, but it has done. So sell from that imbalance filled up here. Taps it perfectly. I'm assuming that was news, so we won't have taken it, but just purely trying to show you that the market's not random. It's telling us what it's sort of wanting to do, showing us with a story, trend line, sweep, break, mitigation, sell off. And obviously we've still got major we've got more trend lines created yet. So yeah, possibly got a trend line here. So should we have taken this or get one from here? This blue one here would be the target. Buy something like that. 13-ish. Taking that maybe. Yeah, told you not to sell it below that. Knew it. Didn't quite reach the zone. Wonder why. Ugh, there's an imbalance in there. I'm not going to look, so just assume that there was an imbalance lower that on the seconds I would have maybe marked up. But again, if there was an imbalance in here, obviously as you can see, it is. I wonder if it created a trend line here. No, I wouldn't have been happy with that. So, not that one. See, higher up, we've been down. Possibly that one there. Yeah, fairly happy with that, I think. So touch up there, touch, touch. I don't know. Don't know. It's better than that. Yeah. Much cleaner. Perfect touch, sweep. Break under here. Obviously, this is the low that takes the high. So get a change of character there. After the sweep. And then obviously it comes back and mitigates something here. So let's change to 5, see if there's a little bit of imbalance. Not. We'll mark it there just for the sake of what it is. It's maybe under 1 minute. There we go. With this one in. Possibly that. A little bit of imbalance just under this. And obviously it leads to the changing character break structure, whatever you call it. I wouldn't have hit anyway. So would have missed. Maybe this one's the just shy of maybe it comes back for it shortly after. But you get the gist. It's taken a trend line, it's swept it, broke below the opposing high or low that took it. Change of character, comes and mitigates something in there. And then obviously targets the following trend line, which was it this blue one? This one here. Blue trend line here. So eventually smashes through it. So should it have been the order we got? Would have been something like that. Would have picked the right entry. So this one better. So there. Something like that would have been what we've been looking for. We'll want a 14 again. Big stop loss for what I'd have been looking for, so I probably would have refined that down a bit. But it's the same again, obviously, exact same order, all based around liquidity. I'm just going to extend some of these. So check my high time frame again. Check see if we've created any more trend lines. Trend line galore going on. But obviously, as you can see, the super important it gets taken anyway if it was. So I'm trying to see if there's another trend line in case now that it's taken it, this trend line wouldn't be drawn because price hasn't printed the next touch. So trying to be as realistic as possible. This one wouldn't be live yet either. Another few minutes, guys, and then I will call it a day. But assuming you get the general gist of it anyway.
Yeah.
I'll just go over another entry again just before. Yeah, so just this obviously is a point of interest because this blue trend line gets taken by obviously this blue box is the cause of it. So there's no final touch just before it. So from this point, I would go up here for a reversal. Obviously, if it took the high, I'd consider buying from somewhere down here. But because it's so far away, obviously, that comes back up, mitigates something in there. Stop doing that. Comes up to the box. I've already got this one marked, so I can't undo it for you because I forgot to do it. But you'll get the gist. It comes in, mitigates an imbalance, obviously looking like this one here. Something like that, mitigates that imbalance. Sure, it changes character. Changes character there. So high, obviously it's trending upwards. Low, high, mitigation, change of character. This is what causes it. And was there a trend line that would have led us to that? Possibly that trend line there. So it sweeps liquidity. Red. Sweeps liquidity. Breaks the low that puts in the high. And eventually, I'm sure, mitigates this huge candle here. And again, obviously, we would be looking for a trend line of something as a target. So, yeah, let's take that entry just about. So, just before it, sorry, stop. So, just before this leg here, obviously, just before it tags the entry. So, at the point of a round entry, obviously, I would say, I think I said it earlier, is you'd look for targets and we possibly get that as a target. So put it to take. So maybe there's 3 touches there at least, even if that don't go there. But something like that. So get lost. So initial target would be that trend line being taken. No idea if it actually goes for it. Definitely tags the entry there.
Good job. We didn't move your stop.
Well, I'm wondering if that one didn't actually reach it, mate, and this one that was the actual
Right.
entry. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm being flippantly.
Yeah.
Most of what I say is flippantly. You should know that.
Yeah. Like I say, I've not been focusing too much on the entries because I cover it all the time. I wanted to try and draw your eye to that. Obviously, I said as I started with, I don't think they're random. So
Yeah, I agree.
this has all come from this move back up here. Do you know that we first started with?
If markets were random over time, the price would just be a straight horizontal line
Yeah.
with enough data points.
Just stop that because that's flying. Yeah. So all these possible moves that we see here. So we looked at the possible buy up to it, which was somewhere around here, I think. There's a buy up to it. the overall sell, which was a huge move. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, possibly 6 moves. I know that's not quite there yet, is it? Let's move here. Let's go back. So yeah, possibly 6 moves just in that sort of like bit of play. So I mean that absolutely. Where did that go? Which was the entry? So yeah, it's don't quite reach the trend line, but it reaches 28-fold before coming back for possibly another entry. There might have been an entry above that it actually tapped for. So same thing, it's possibly just mitigated something higher. Again, obviously I was about to make some mistakes because I haven't been searching for the entries. So yeah, that might not have been the entry that I took. The one high might have been, but obviously it comes and it stays within this high that takes the liquidity anyway. So yeah, either one of them. And it does. I'm sure it takes another trend line. I'll call it there anyway, mate. You get the idea of.
Yeah. It's plenty, thanks.
Yeah, I'm hoping people will take a lot from that. I know that might have been a bit tedious and boring, but if you can train your eye to spotting these trend lines, especially clean ones, then from beyond that, really, as long as sort of structures in your favor, once it takes it and then breaks, changes character, whether that's 1 minute, 5 minute, or just obviously on this occasion here, the low that caused the sweep, obviously, is generally a good area to wait to be broken. Your own data would be slightly different to mine depending on which one you went for. But yeah, I think if you can sort of like, if anyone can work on that, it's probably things are going to become a lot easier for you because it's what have I just shown? I've just shown 6, 7 trades. None of them actually lost, I don't believe. I'd have maybe personally picked the wrong entry, but as a general, you're going to get a sweep. If it breaks, it's going to come somewhere up and mitigate.
Yeah.
So
cool.
Yeah, all right, mate.
Thank you, chaps.
Cheers for jumping on, guys. Catch you in a bit.
See you, mate. Thank you.